Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be doing another episode of Writers Wednesdays. First and foremost, this week I look a little bit different. I got a wig, and if you're really curious about that, I posted a video 2 days ago talking about why I got a wig and what if I'm going to start wearing it on the channel or not. If you're truly needing to know all that information, you can go back and watch that video before watching this one. But anyway, this video is going to be about something that a lot of other writers have asked me about, like at least on my personal Instagram. And I thought since they were asking that some people here on YouTube might have the same question, and that is, how does one get their book into a physical bookstore? So if you are interested in that, just keep on watching. Okay, so the first sort of thing you need to know is that there's a difference between selling to like small local stores and selling to like big chains like Barnes & Noble. I think Barnes & Noble is pretty much the one that's like cornered the market on everything right now. Yeah, they've pretty much cornered the market. And like Barnes & Noble also like has their own franchise stores, but a lot of times if you're interested in selling into like university stores too, like college bookstores and stuff like that, they will more than likely be owned by Barnes & Noble. Now, the strategies you would use for approaching local shops are going to be drastically different than your strategies for approaching Barnes & Noble. I'm not in Barnes & Noble yet, but I know plenty of other people who are, and it's more of like an actual streamlined process to do so, and you just kind of have to weigh things out. So basically, you can find all this stuff online too. But Barnes & Noble has a process where they have like a specific email that you would send your application to. Not really application, but just your information to say like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is my book. This is why I would like you to stock it. This is what it's about. And then you also have to include information about like your social media presence and whether like your marketing plan, right? Because they want to know that if they're going to stock this book that it's going to sell. So I heard that process could take like 6 weeks to hear back. I know some people who got in very quickly, and I know some people who got in very late. If you did the whole formal process, there's probably other emails you could reach out to like ask questions about it, although you know, different people in different departments do different things. So like I said, I started that process a couple weeks ago now, and I might be writing a follow-up email to somebody just to see, you know, if they got my information. But it's good to have things already in place. Like, if you have a good social media following, talk about that. The thing I did was talk about how I was already in a newspaper in my hometown. Having traditional media coverage is also a really good thing to have under your belt when trying to sell yourself and your book. So yeah, that's kind of like the more formalized process for a big chain like Barnes & Noble. The second half of what you can do is actually approaching small local bookstores. So I like this approach for a multitude of reasons. One, I'm all about supporting local businesses, especially in like the tough times we're having now. Any sort of partnership with local businesses is good, and if you are a consumer, then you know it might be good for you to try to buy as much as you can from local businesses, especially when you know everything's kind of hurting right now. Again, is when I talk about like things depending on your area, this is what I mean, because I know in my hometown, a lot of the little bookstores, a lot of the smaller local bookstores don't sell new releases. Instead of selling new releases, they sell just like used books, right? They resell old books, or some of them might specialize in just selling antique books. Like there's one shop here in Boston downtown that's famous for selling like original texts and documents of, you know, older books, or you know, even like revolutionary history type stuff. So you really have to research the store and like figure out its niche. And there's no harm in asking around. Like if you call up the store and, you know, just as like if you can't get out on foot right away, and you call up the store, or even if you Google it, that's like a great way to figure out whether or not they'd be interested in selling new releases in general, let alone selling your specific book. So yeah, so figure that out first. If you're in a small town, they may or may not have that. That's just up to you to start looking for those opportunities. If you have a store that will sell new releases, then that's your biggest bet. So what do you do about selling new releases? Okay, so this next part is also dependent. There's a lot of things at play, but my biggest advice, as long as you're like wearing a mask and being safe and vaccinated and everything else like that, is go to door to door. If the business is open, just step in, talk to somebody, show your face, express interest, say, hey, I noticed I'm a local author. I live right up the street or whatever, and I just published this book, and I'm really interested in selling in your store if you're willing to have me, or if you have any events already that like is hosting local authors, I'd love to be part of that, right? Very straightforward. And normally, most of the times, if the person that's normally in charge of that isn't there, they'll at least give you their business card. You can leave your business card there. Sometimes they might ask you for a copy of the book to look over, and if you have it on hand, have it on hand. That's another tip I really recommend, that if you're out canvassing, just have at least one copy with you, just to kind of show and flash like, hey, like this is kind of legit, like this is me, right? This is real. I promise you can get it on Amazon. And I also recommend trying to find like places that work for you. So for me, my book, Cursed Fate, is a dark fantasy, right? That is going to do very well in certain circles and not as well as in other circles. So what does that mean? So I actually went to like a Dungeons and Dragons type board game store that happens to also sell books. And they were the first people to stock Cursed Fate. I met the owner. He's a really nice guy. He always does stuff with local artists, board game artists, and local authors in the community who are also fantasy writers, because the people who tend to enjoy like board games or role-playing games, things like that, also tend to be heavily interested in dark fantasy. So it's about knowing your audience. And there's a couple other bookstores I've been meaning to get to that also have that kind of niche. And in that, that's my realm, right? That's my consumer. So it's always important to know who your consumer is, who your reader is, and go to the places where they congregate. For example, if you're somebody who has like more of like a self-help type book, or something spiritual, it might help for you to go to religiously owned bookstores, or bookstores that are more like metaphysical or whatever, because those people would be more interested in reading your books, and they'd probably be more likely to say yes. So let's just say now you're at the point where you have a bookstore that's like interested in you and your work. What happens next? So most of the time they can either offer to buy the books at a discounted rate from you right then and there, and then they sell your books. They might ask you to sign them first, and they sell them at the store, no questions asked. That has happened to me before, and it's pretty straightforward. Or they'll ask you to sell them on consignment. So what that means is basically you have a contract for however many books you can provide for them. And it's kind of like once they're gone, they're gone. But you sign a contract, and just to say like how long the books are going to be on the shelves, and how the payments are going to go down. So in most cases, the payments will be 60-40, with the author getting 60% of the sales and the store itself getting 40% of the stores. I've seen 50-50, and I've seen people 70-30, but for the most part, it's 60-40, which is a good deal. Now, if they decide to carry your book further than that, what's going to happen is that they're going to ask probably for your Ingram account or your Ingram information, or ask if your book is on Ingram. Ingram is kind of like it's a distributor for not only local bookstores but for libraries as well. That's where they order their books. They get them at a discounted rate, as opposed to just ordering them off of Amazon, or directly from the publisher. And they normally do something like the publisher puts it, okay, again, if you are traditionally published, the publisher will put your listing on Ingram, and they will either mention if it's refundable or non-refundable. That basically just means if the store doesn't sell your stock over a certain amount of time and they really don't think it's going to sell, they can just return it back to the publisher, whoever, and get reimbursed for their losses. Or if it's not refundable, then they don't have the ability to do so, and whatever they buy in stock is what they have to have, and it's a loss on their part, right? So naturally, a lot of bookstores don't really want to stock things that are non-refundable or non-returnable because they don't want to miss out on profit margins. Likewise, your publisher might have the incentive to try to make your book non-refundable because, of course, they don't want to take the losses either. They don't want to be financially responsible if your book doesn't sell in store. And that's a conversation for you to have with your publisher. There's also differences in discount rates. So just based off of personal experience, a lot of stores won't take books in if it's under 40%. Of course, that's something that can be negotiated between yourself, your publisher, and the store you're trying to get to buy your book. But the publisher will automatically put some sort of percentage rate on there for you. Now, if you're self-published, this is just all up to you, right? So you don't have to be the middleman in this scenario. You're the one that can set whether or not your book is refundable. You're the one that can set the discount percentage rates to make it more attractive to booksellers if that's your goal. So if you're self-published, that's in your complete control. If you're traditionally published like me, that is just a bunch of headaches that you might have to go through to try to get everybody to play nice. But a way around that, if you'd like, is as an author, if you have extra stock of your own book just laying around doing whatever, if you have extra stock designed for marketing promotions, Instagram giveaways and stuff like that, you could choose to sell those copies instead on consignment. And then if it does really well, then maybe the store would be more willing to be flexible on refundable status or discount policies and things like that. But yeah, just trying to go through and have these sort of business conversations with the stores and the publisher is the main thing to focus on. And I haven't approached any libraries yet necessarily, so that might also be an issue when it comes to libraries as well, just because I know that they also use Ingram. Now that the technicalities of all that are pretty much covered, I think some people also question hey, is this my publisher's job to do this for me? I saw that you're all, I got that. They're like, oh my God, how did you get in the store? How did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And more about social strategies on how to approach people. And I can talk about that as well if you really need, now that we got all the technicalities out of the way. But it's old-fashioned canvassing. It's old-fashioned selling. It's old-fashioned hey, I'm showing up. I'm dressed nice. And I basically just say hello, this is who I am, this is my book, this is what it's about. So normally I just go, I show up, I try to look nice, I smile, and I just say look, this is my book, this is Cursed Fate, and I'm really trying to get it in circulation in the store. If you need buzzwords, sometimes that helps people. I know it helps me. I tend to be an anxious person. So having a buzzword to latch onto with your sales pitch helps me out. So circulation is my buzzword, and it makes you sound pretty professional, even if you don't have any experience in selling. And just saying yes, I'm interested in getting my book in circulation at the store. Do you have any options for doing that? Some bigger places might have forms for you to fill out online too. The one place I went to, Trident, they do have something online, a formalized just thing to fill out to see if they're interested in. But I did that after I got in contact with their main buyer. So obviously I think I was streamlined through that process. I know in this day and age too, I think a lot of people are scared to approach people in person. I think a lot of people are shy too, and they might feel more comfortable just emailing stores or emailing people or calling, which is fine, but I just think that going in person and talking to somebody shows a lot of incentive. It shows a lot of care. Not just saying that you're not putting work in, but I think it's just an indicator that this person's really passionate about what they're doing, and people want to help people out at the end of the day. I'm fortunate because a lot of the places I went to really do want to help out local authors and local creatives, and I've gotten pretty positive responses. There's some people I just haven't heard back from yet, and part of this selling is also just a numbers game. You're not going to hear back from everybody. You're going to hear no's, and that's fine too. It's just you have to figure out how to pick up and move on. I got my 2 stores after a full day of selling where we were canvassing about maybe 10 stores that day, so that's only a 20% rate. But 20%, I sold probably like 10 books, you know? And that's just in one day's of work of driving around and just looking cute and smiling and being approachable, you know? I think that pretty much covers it. If you have any other questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can. You could also, if you want to help me out in this scenario, you can like the video. Again, comment down below your questions, comments, whatever. Share this video with a friend who might need some assistance in this department as well. And subscribe to the channel. Please, please, please subscribe. I'm going to be posting writing content every Wednesday, and that's going to vary from like the business side of writing to the marketing strategies to like actual writing itself and writing tips. So if you're interested in that, you want to stay up to date for this weekly series, just subscribe to the channel. And until then, thanks. Bye.